Yes.
Okay. So let me get this straight. You had to put a vast majority of your DVDs into garbage bags?
Oh, I would say about 75% of them are stored away, and half of that 75% is in a cardboard box, which I didn't have enough large cardboard boxes to store them. So the other half is in a garbage bag. Yes.
I'm gonna need you to put all of them in. Oh, deep, 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 deep. I'm gonna need you to put all of them into a garbage bag because you know what? That's where they deserve to be. Hey everyone, and welcome to Why Are You Still Here? And today we're at war.
I would talk about the Third Amendment, but I don't have a third gun. That was my favorite quote from that episode. I just thought it was so fucking hilarious, and I figured it was done on the spot.
It was.
Yes.
Those are my improvisational skills.
I enjoyed it very much. It was a standout.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyway, so today we're not really at war. Don't worry. And we're probably limited to how many times we can actually say war on the tube of you. But this is
Call of Duty, World at War.
We're dealing with worst case scenario. Yeah, we're at war. Look at that sad face. It's very sad.
Yes.
Anyway, and this is my wonderful improvisational skills right there. That was an at, like an AT. And I was like, you know what? We're dealing with the internet. Let's make it an at symbol, baby. I'm very creative. Yes. Anyway,
creatively bankrupt.
So that too, but we're not going to talk too much about the beginnings of this, right? But I'm sure you know about Russia and the Ukraine and so on and so forth. Yes, and this is where some inspiration came from. No disrespect to the people who are being affected by such situation, but Russia, one of the very first things they did before they invaded the Ukraine was they cut off the internet of the entire country of the Ukraine. And the Ukraine is bigger than the
Ukraine is bigger than Russia? What are you trying to say?
The continental United States. Did you not get that from this? Did you not get that?
Oh, wait a minute. I see Texas now. Don't go. Yeah, there's
Florida. You see it in there? I was doing that.
See Rhode Island,
because it's like the connected part of the United States, obviously not considering Alaska, which is gigantic, and Hawaii, which is not gigantic, but is also not connected by land. But whatever, the Ukraine is bigger than the continental United States. So for anybody that goes, Ukraine's a small country. That's why the internet was able to be cut off for them. No, ma'am or sir, or
whatever.
No, anybody. Yeah. So yeah, it's certainly possible. So, and hopefully we don't ever go at war or whatever. That's the only thing I could think of, though, that would cause such an issue to transpire. Can you think of anything else that would make it so?
Not in the land of the free, home of the brave. No, not in America.
Right. Obviously,
too many other countries make money off us anyway. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's just something that unless shit really hit the fan, I don't see that happening here. But then again, Ukrainians could have said the exact same thing.
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible. I don't know. whatever though. I mean,
Yes.
you look at the blackout that happened. Lucas was out of the country apparently.
Yeah, we're on a
where were you?
vacation. I was on a Carnival cruise at the time. So
Okay.
we're just sitting there in paradise, like watching the broadcast of
Yeah.
the 3 days of whatever of the blackout. So it
Yeah.
didn't affect me.
You were seeing televised coverage of
It's
the
on.
world exploding at
I'm
that
sitting
time.
there here. Actually, this is an actual recount side tangent. I'm sitting there on a beach, half cut coconut full of milk. I'm just drinking it. There's a monkey behind me. It's crazy,
Yeah.
just like a movie.
Yeah. It was actually Dunstan from Dunstan Checks In.
Have I talked
Is that what
about
it's called?
yes, I've talked about that movie, right? My love for that movie.
I think so.
Yeah, it has Paul Rubin in it. Actually,
It does.
he's the gorilla killer. They send him to the hotel to kill the fucking monkey.
It also has Jason Alexander in it, and
Yes, it does.
the kid from the Santa Claus in it as well.
Yes,
But
it does.
I think that's when we talked about it.
We might have. It's
Christmas
a 90s
episode.
mashup. Anyway, I might not keep that in
Yeah.
there, but God, I love. You know what? Maybe I will. I love Dunstan Checks In. So
It
it's like
doesn't
that.
matter.
It's the end of that movie. I ripped off the end of that movie anyway. So
Sure. Anyway,
for my vacation.
So that was caused by something stupid happening. So who knows? Something stupid could happen again at some point, and I don't know what it would ever take down. Maybe a satellite gets hit in the air. Like Elon Musk sends one of his like 2,700 Tesla vehicles strapped to rockets up into space, and it just happens to hit a satellite.
Yes, we'll hear about it on Twitter.
Yeah, it's possible. Anyway, so that was where all of this started, and I had the idea, and then I texted Lucas about it, and we had a brief discussion, and it was like,
do you remember what I told you about it?
I do, and I'll get there, trust me.
That's gonna be like the whole crux of my point of view of this.
Yeah. So
okay.
So I sent the text because I was like, imagine if we lost internet and how physical media would be affected by it. So I will say this, that, well, we can get into it a bit deeper in just a moment, but physical media, DVDs, Blu-ray, HD, UHD, Blu-ray, whatever you want to call it, 4K, HD DVD, probably not unless anybody still has an HD DVD player, but it's all going to it would inflate in price dramatically, because that would be the only way that you could actually watch movies or TV, period. Like if you lost access to the internet, it would be the only way you're getting entertainment, and Lucas, before we started actually filming, was like, yeah, because that's the most important thing. I don't think that you understand how much weight is placed on entertainment, especially during war times. I understand that you are worried about staying alive, but during the times in between, you're like, hey, what's going to keep me entertained?
So in this alternate timeline, we have power, obviously. How else are we going to be consuming this?
Yep, we have power.
So basically, as I said,
even if you don't have power, you could get a generator.
Cool. So, that's awesome.
Yep.
Because he sent me this text. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let them know, when I said this to you, how did you take it? How did you interpret what I was saying?
I thought of no power. It's going to be like a post-apocalyptic Fallout 3 wasteland situation. And my first thought was, thank God I got a bunch of UMDs. I can watch them on my PSP.
You also said something else, though,
about my life drastically improving.
Yes,
That's
there
what
we
I
go.
that's what I wanted to say. I had to get the funny part out of the way. But yes.
I think that this is the funnier part because I
What?
sent you the text thinking that I was like let's talk about this because all of a sudden our collections, our physical media collections become so valuable, and it's going to, physical media will become such a important resource for the United States. Sounds so stupid, but it would be true. It would be, it'd be like what GameCube games are going through right now or whatever, but on a much bigger level. And you took it as, yeah, what if we just didn't have the internet affecting our lives in a negative way anymore? It was like,
maybe
that's not what I'm talking
maybe
about.
it's a subconscious problem.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't
speaking of,
know.
I thought of it like this. I thought of it as taking like a temporary trip back, as to where I don't have the internet to distract me, because the internet really distracts me from a lot of the things that I want to do. You know how many, and I'm sure you're guilty of this. Anybody watching is guilty of this. How many times have you watched somebody talk about a game rather than playing the game yourself, or watch somebody talk about a movie rather than watching it yourself? I mean,
I
a
mean,
lot of the times I end up getting more consumed in some of these people creating the content and watching that versus what they're making the content about, that I'm watching it through the shared interest. You know what I mean?
I will do that, but it will already be after I either watched the movie or played the
I guess a
game.
movie's a little bit of a different situation. Older, not newer games. I'm not spoiling newer games, but like sometimes you'll go back and watch like a retrospective on a game that you haven't played, maybe because it's 20 years old and it's been spoiled to death on the internet. You watch something versus playing it, for example.
I don't do that.
You never done that?
No, not that I can think of, at least. I'll watch retrospective on things that I have some type of nostalgia for that I actually did play. But yeah, as far as something I didn't play, I don't think so. If that comes up, I'll let you know. But I don't know if that's normal or not. Like that you might be
I see it on YouTube.
you
I
might be the
see it in the
norm
comments
of people being like, I've never played this game ever. Now I'm watching a video. That's what they say in the
100
comments.
in a left-handed way, sure.
Anyway, so I felt like we got off track there, but yeah, so you almost took it as like how the internet has been affecting your life negatively, apparently. And you were like, I'm going to have some pretty controversial opinions on this. And I was
my
like,
God, you know how
how
much
could
free
you
time?
possibly have a controversial opinion on physical media? Like we were on two different levels for this conversation. I'm like, what's your controversial opinion? What could that possibly be? That you're gonna finally out yourself now that you don't actually like physical media and blow my mind or something? Like that's where I went to with this when you said that. And so it's like, no, I think we all can agree that our lives would be improved if it wasn't for certain aspects of the internet. I don't think you can get rid of it altogether, because again, that would give you what we're talking about today if you get rid of it altogether. So many things rely on the internet.
I would just kind of want to go back to like maybe 2006 internet. Okay, maybe not that.
So exactly how it was. So exactly the same as today. Anyway, so yeah, now let's put yourself in the place of a United States, or if you're not watching the United States, whatever country you live in. And think if the internet, whatever leads to that point, think if the internet was somehow just cut off and for all you knew, it was going to be forever. Now, what for the people out there that have only digital collections when it comes to music, movies, TV shows, or video games I'll get to in a second, but what are you going to do? Because you lost all of that. unfortunately. So when you store everything just, you know, digitally, all of it goes away, unfortunately, unless you have downloads
Well,
of them.
I
Now
did.
that's
Did
why
we talk
video
about
games,
this a couple of weeks ago? Where even when you have online access, you're going to have problems playing some of these older
yes,
games. Did we talk about the
yes.
PlayStation debacle?
I don't know. Maybe.
So on PS3 specifically,
Okay.
there were certain PS1 games. You go to launch them. I think it was some SquareSoft games, so Final Fantasy games or shit like that. I think it was Chrono. Maybe it's Chrono Cross. I don't know.
Like Square Enix?
Before they merged, yeah, that's what they were called in the 90s.
Okay.
But uh, you would launch this PS1 game that you bought, digital file, and it would say the game expired in 1969. Couldn't play the game. For all intents and purposes, it was offline, you know? So people were vast digital collections on PS3 were unavailable to play. People were like, well, what the fuck, Sony? Not only did you extend the PS3's digital storefront after people threw a fit about it, right? Things that are already bought, you're saying that we're not going to have access to at some point. Like, what's the deal here? They restored it, they brought it back, but yeah, I mean, this stuff is just unreliable. And then who's to say that 30 years down the line, they're still going to support PS3 when a glitch hits? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Chances are they won't.
And your PS5 is going to become your PS3 at some point. It's going to age just like everything else. So sorry, people.
Like
not immune
milk.
to it. Exactly.
Correct. Except this is slightly off subject, but you Sony owners out there, you know what I'm talking about, that the patent has been filed, that they're going to, we don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen, that the PS5 will become completely backwards compatible. So
not we'll with see. Discs.
With discs, yes. Not with digital.
Good. When the PS3 is functional through a disc, let me know, because I I don't see that happening for years, well, that's what, if ever.
That's what the patent was
because
filed
with PS
for.
Plus, you still have to stream PS3 games. You even with this insane new digital service of years of PlayStation, PS1, PSP, PS2, stream the PS3 games because you can't play those yet.
Anyway, that is what the patent was filed for, was the disc versions of the game. So for some reason they can do it with current consoles as well without changing any of the internal components. It will be done with just an upgrade. I don't know if they're going to have you pay for the upgrade, but supposedly it's going to be included in a software update. And then once that software update is installed, it should be backwards compatible. There probably will be exceptions, because there always is exceptions, where it's like, you know, backwards compatible with 90% of the games or whatever. So I don't know. That's what they're shooting for, though. And for the people that bought the digital versions of the system, you're SOL, unfortunately. But
yeah,
you know, we kind of already talked about that anyway, you know, because I don't know, maybe digital isn't as much the future as people like to believe it is, especially, again, if something like this happened. Now, I said before that I would get still, back
you're
to
probably
video
not
games.
Playing a lot of PS5, probably all PS5 games, PS4 games. How many of them do you have to install, not from the CD itself, but from an internet update? You're playing your old school shit.
What's the question?
Not a vast majority of games that ship nowadays, it's not on the disc itself, not the full game anyway. So you get half of it on the CD. Same with the Switch. The Switch is notorious for this. It's a huge problem.
Okay.
Especially on Switch,
where they'll ship a game.
Oh yeah, so there's going to be so many games that are rendered useless of current
play my Switch without, because I don't pay for the Nintendo Switch Online.
That doesn't matter. Here, I'll show you what it is.
Owned it.
where a certain
Oh yeah,
portion,
yeah. I don't have any games that say that. That's probably why.
but then not only that, like some that do have this game like Spyro, for example, like the first games on the cartridge, 2 and 3, you have to download. It's the same with the PS4 disc as well. So
I'd be screwed if I bought that game because I don't have the Nintendo Switch Online. So I
that
would have
doesn't
to
this
pay for
doesn't
the
this isn't no
online.
no no this isn't the subscription. This means that the full game is not on the cartridge. This is like a
Right.
30
So you have to
gigabyte.
connect to the internet.
Yeah, it
But
doesn't
if you're not
cost any
paying
money.
if you're not
You have,
paying for the internet on the system though.
you can connect it to Wi-Fi, but if you want to play online, like if you want to play a game online, this is a single player game. This isn't online.
I understand.
But you
But
don't
if
have
it
to pay for
needs
the subscription to go online. You can update your firmware. You know what I mean? You can download games, but the Nintendo Switch online subscription is to have the NES games, Super Nintendo,
yeah.
whatever, and then online play, like with Mario
Hmm.
Kart, with Smash Brothers, whatever. If you want to
Interesting. I
download
don't know if I would
anything
say
else,
it's
you
a
don't need that.
huge issue because, like I said, I don't have any games that have that on it. So, and I don't think I would buy it because it's also looks like a eyesore, that message up there that looks like a notification on an iPhone. Um, but so you briefly touched on it before that while in some cases you're probably fine if you have the disc versions of newer systems, then you can just download it off the disc and you can play that game, right? But a lot of times people are streaming games. So when it comes to a lot of the PS3 store, there's something that's called PS Now that you have to specifically subscribe to. I don't subscribe to it personally, but if you want to play certain games on your newest system, you have to do it that way where you're streaming the game. And obviously, you can't do that without the internet. And in cases like you just mentioned with that Switch game, you're not going to be able to play that, unfortunately, or probably any version of it if the internet goes out. So, yeah, but it'll honestly, what I would probably guess would happen would there'd be a whole lot less playing of next gen or current gen systems. People would probably go and take a step back to previous systems like you and I
Well,
have been doing.
speaking of that, then it
And
would completely convolute the market, fuck it up even more than what it is now. GameStop would start selling retro games again. I think GameStop would
mm-hmm,
become I don't think it would. It would become popular. They would adjust for that.
yeah,
Your Mon Pod retro replay stores, whatever, are all going to be booming.
yep,
I mean, their
yep,
stock is going to clear out. You're going to get to a point. We're seeing a point
yeah.
now where I don't know if you knew this. Guitar Hero controllers are worth between like $50 to $80,
I
depending on
do
which
know
model.
that. Yeah.
Back when you couldn't give those things away, like they were
Mm-hmm.
sold as baby's first guitar for 50 cents at Goodwill. Now Goodwill, that same Goodwill, is taking it, putting them on their Goodwill store and
Mm-hmm.
pricing it out of oblivion, completely removing what Goodwill was about anyway.
Yep.
So I'm not going to get into that.
Right. Yeah, you talked about this a few weeks ago. I'm
Maybe it
not
pissed me off
sure
so
what
much.
subject we were talking about, but it was news to me. It was on one of our special features
Oh
two
yeah,
two
makes
special
sense.
features ago, I think. And it's not something that I knew about as far as thrift stores pricing items higher, but
Oh
that
yep,
sucks. And
sad.
yeah, so I think that what they probably would have to do, I don't even know if it's a possibility, but gaming companies would probably have to start producing old games again. Because there's just no, for instance, GameCube or PS2 or Xbox, whatever, once you run out of them, you run out of
Well,
them.
if
There's
there's no
nobody
internet,
producing them at the moment.
how long is there no internet for companies to even start producing old games, taking
I
their
would
old
say
ROMs and dumping them onto a disk?
I would say it's indefinitely. And I would say that they probably have them all stored as files, sure, but actually, excuse me, obtainable files though. Like a company's not gonna keep all their files stored, especially like a company like Nintendo. They don't
No,
keep
they
all
have their
their
old
old
ROMs.
IPs.
People
Yeah,
have it in their basement, the full game. You know what I mean? On the computer. And they've been doing
yeah,
it for years.
yeah. It wouldn't be difficult to go back and reproduce new copies of old games.
So as far as our old copies, though, not to get because I kind of got off track with that statement there.
Yeah.
Like our collections would I mean go up 10 times in value, maybe even
Yeah.
20 times. I
At least, and you would be able to sell it just to your local store. You know, you wouldn't have to worry about the internet because the internet doesn't exist anyway in this
utopia that we live in.
situation. So yeah, you could just sell it to your local store and they would probably spend who knows how much on it and then turn around and sell it for even more. I mean, it's really quite impossible to know how much it would increase in value, but just looking at it now, how much certain games have increased in value, just normal
This is
games, normal GameCube games that used to, you couldn't give them away, just like you were saying with the Guitar Hero and the Rock Band guitars, you couldn't give them away. You really could not give away GameCube games in the past. People just threw them out, which is also part of the issue as well when we come to now.
a majority of my GameCube games, and like I've said before, I don't care if it's greatest hits or not, as long as the majority is Black Label, that's fine.
Player's
Majority of
choice.
yeah, I always just say whatever. People know what you're talking about. So player's choice in this case for GameCube, almost all of my heavy hitter games, with the exception of Melee, were the yellow label player's choice ones because that meant, oh, hey, you're with your mom at Target and it's like, hey, you can get a game, but you can't get a $50 one. You get a $20 one. Bitch, I still got, Paper Mario for $20. That game goes for like $120 now. It's like 6 times up in value. But then, so the GameCube games have gone up like 5 times. Other games are basically at like retail value, I would say, for some of the from more popular ones. So in this utopia that we're living in, I think DVDs, Blu-rays, games are going to go up to retail value. A used DVD is going to be $20.
I think it's going to be even more than that.
You think so?
But you could be right. Obviously, it would go on a certain level with DVDs being the cheapest out of the bunch, obviously.
Yeah. And then I think Blu-rays might get to about quality. 25, 30 and get up from there. 4Ks are going to be at what they were retail in the beginning. Remember when 4Ks were like $50 in the beginning?
I do, and some still are. And I mean, there's an MSRP, for a lot of the stuff that's new. Mm-hmm. And so you can't exceed that MSRP. You can obviously go below it, but I think that would be thrown out the window. And again, I'm not educated on this kind of stuff. I don't know if there's there's government entities that can stop that kind of thing from happening, but I think they'd have to recalibrate everything, and the MSRP is not going to mean jack shit if this kind of thing happened, because that says that it can't, like a new,
it's at a reseller's market. These are things that aren't produced and haven't been produced for years.
This would be something that would happen right on a level of retail. Like Best Buy, you go to Best Buy, and I think the stuff would be more expensive in Best Buy. So, I mean,
is Best Buy selling their current stock, or are they taking in used stuff? Because remember, Best Buy did used to take in used stuff for a period.
Really? They still do. Mm-hmm. They still have some used games on the shelf. Yeah, I avoid them like the plague, but yeah.
Like an FYE used game or like a Blockbuster game, especially a Blockbuster game. You don't want that back.
Not even that case or anything. So yeah, they would totally be bringing in their own stock, and and all that kind of stuff. And it would probably be a bit of a learning curve if they're going to be able to produce more of these things, actually on the factory levels, but then they probably would figure it out. I can't think of what would possibly be an issue on that level. You don't use the internet. As far as I know, you don't use the internet in producing games and movies and stuff. So
maybe like for
know.
communication or for research, but obviously games were made pre-internet. So I mean,
right, yeah. So
we were there.
They would figure it out. Correct. So yeah, they could produce more. And yeah, so circling back, like I said, I think that they would start producing new versions of old games, which would be super cool. I would be all about that. But then again, when it comes to certain companies like Square Enix, and they don't hold on to their things responsibly, apparently, because as it turned out, they had lost the entire original data files of the original Kingdom Hearts game, and they had to rebuild it for the remastered version. They're very irresponsible, obviously. Not only did they lose the data files to one of their most popular games ever, how do you do that? But they don't know how to make a remastered version of said game that you just mentioned, and it's only the cutscenes, only the cinematics. Are you kidding me? You think a DS to no end. You think a DS is that bad that you can't remaster it? Like, you've remastered PS1 games, and you think a DS is sub PS1 or Atari or Super Nintendo? You know what I mean?
You what,
it's just stupid. It's just
358 days over 2. That game does not require the touchscreen. I played the game. You don't need the touchscreen.
No. Yeah, I was.
Who am I going to eat ice cream with?
Because Shion. Who else will I have ice cream with?
I really enjoyed that game when I played it as well, and I was disappointed that it was only the HD cinematics, as they called it, I think. And I was like, come on,
3 hours,
and you get a trophy from watching it. Oh, it's more than 3 hours.
You get a trophy.
You get, yeah. Because you have to keep, I love it. Like, you can't just let it start playing and leave the room and go out to lunch and then come back, and
you have to scroll through the
earn the trophy
options.
You have to keep on pressing buttons to keep getting it going.
See, you know what?
Like, here they were smart about it.
Point proven too. Without the internet, to learn about these things, kids growing up now who didn't play Kingdom Hearts 1 when it came out, who didn't know that. Because I'm going to be honest with you, when I first saw Kingdom Hearts 1 in a magazine, I thought it was a fucking parody, like a joke. Like, we have Mickey Mouse with Final Fantasy. How is this going to fucking work? And then it turned out to be an amazing game. People didn't know about, the little stir up beforehand. Also, people didn't know.
The stir up?
Is back in the early 2000s, there was this announcement that Square and Disney were getting together and they were making a game called Kingdom Hearts. And let me say, at the time, there wasn't YouTube and the way it is now and stuff like that. So there's only a lot of internet forums, and people were absolutely losing it over this. There was a small percentage of people that were very excited about it, but there was a lot of people arguing about it, how this was the downfall of video games and the downfall of Square, and this is such a weird combination.
There was a lot of people who thought the game was going to be goofy. Get it? No pun intended.
There were some people I knew that were like intrigued, I guess you could say, but I don't know if I knew anybody that thought it was going to be goofy. But yes, continue.
Also, if you didn't grow up playing the Game Boy Advance game, the PSP game, you found out about it through the internet, you're going to have to rely on this game. It's got all the bonus content. That's got all the, I'm assuming it's going to have dates and everything, and maybe a synopsis of the game, what system it came out for. It would have to, right? Maybe give you some kind of knowledge.
on like the original version of the game.
Yeah, I'd have to have some like description of it, right, in the menu. Because I didn't play any of the other games on the disc because I have them.
I have no idea. It would have dates for sure. Like in that case that you just were holding there, the date of when it was originally released, which was 2002, I think would be on there. If
I mean,
that's
the
what
disc
you're
should
saying.
have like a little history lesson with the
I mean,
with the game.
Depends what you're considering a history lesson. I mean, it's not going to be like this game was released for the PS2 and on February 2nd, 2000.
Yeah, that's what they should have. They should have like
a
whole little video segment, like a little 5-minute little special on it. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Kingdom Hearts 4 is supposed to come out at some point, but
Yeah, Sora's feet are tiny, or he's not wearing clown shoes. I'm
is
sure
he
you
not?
watched. You didn't watch the footage?
I don't think so. Maybe I did. Yes,
It's in Unreal 5. Yeah, go look at Sora's
Yeah.
feet. He's
Yeah, I
like
saw
he's
it.
like realistic looking.
I didn't see his lack of big stupid feet. That's like a big part of the character. Again, we get off subject, but so ultimately you might be listening to this though and going, well, okay, so the internet dies and all of us out there that only have digital copies of things are going to be screwed, but we could still go to the movie theater.
Wrong.
Wrongo. Yeah, no, you can't, because you know why? I had to make sure that I wasn't completely talking out of my ass. Like I knew that movies were completely digital now. In fact, you go to the movie theater and they brag about it for 27 minutes before the movie even starts, how it's digital. Especially if you go to AMC. You'll have Nicole Kidman bragging about it.
The projector is still on.
yeah. They're like digital projector, deep blacks, true blacks, even though it's really just gray and black next to each other. But whatever.
The Coca-Cola logo slides into frame.
Yeah. Whatever. So yes. And what does that mean exactly when you say, well, it's completely digital? Well, it means that they're transmitted through email, digital files of these movies. That's what they're using. They probably then put them onto a USB drive and then put it into the projector, I assume, unless the projector itself actually connects to the internet, but whatever, that's neither here nor there. The point is that it deals with the internet. And in the times, because, we looked it up before we officially started this today, in the rare instances that they aren't using a digital file, you know what they're using? A Blu-ray disc, a physical Blu-ray disc. So I guess in those instances, you would be able to see that movie. But the point is that physical media is super important, so much more important than people give it credit for, or even think of. It's almost like digital physical media are the bees of the entertainment industry. And what do I mean by that? Do you know what I mean by that?
Save the bees.
Yes. Bees are basically what keep everything existing.